I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
Vita and Chip and Kopi.
Good Lord. You're sickly.
Yes.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Sickly? Mm-hmm. And yet here you are.
Here I am. With Orion moving all around in my upset belly.
What a terrible kid, huh? Very inconsiderate. Very inconsiderate.
I don't ever
kid.
remember getting sick like that when I was like this when I was pregnant with Selah, because I don't remember that. Like, this is the first time that I'm like, whoa, my stomach's upset and I can't make that child stop moving.
Stop it. Hmm?
I know, and I was like, I said, well, like, I fell asleep, and in my dream, I was like, I need to tell Vin, because, you know, like, if Johan's not listening or whatever, I always bring him to you, like, if it's not really working. But I'm like, there's nothing that can be done. Of course, Johan doesn't really listen either.
Plus, if I tell him to stop, every time he hears my voice, he gets happy.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Shh, quiet.
And
Vin.
he's actually more likely to torment you than before. All right, speaking of torment, the big homie Nergal just released this video, Ecclesia Diabolica Catholica.
Okay. Something about the Catholic Church?
Being diabolical, I guess.
What's diabolical?
Diablos, it's the devil. It's rooted in the devil. Guess he's saying that the Catholic Church is diabolical. Not a very difficult argument considering recent events.
Wait, what? What do they do now?
Every day there's something about some priest. There's a bishop that's facing like 3 years in jail for.
Well, finally, somebody's going to jail for their actions.
Yeah, I know.
Over there.
Shout out to the big homie R. Kelly. Good Lord. What in the world? All right. So anyway, let's go.
Okay. And go. Wow. Huh. Wow.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I got really sad when I saw the man with the church on his back.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Well, the whole concept of the Catholic Church being built on the backs of the poor and their lack of understanding of what the Bible actually says, and then their desire to not translate into a language that was understood by the people. You know, that's always made me really sad. So when I saw that man, like, I don't know what he was trying to communicate in the song, but that part, that's what it made me think of, because the man was bearing the weight of the Catholic Church on his, very broken body, while his body looked all,
Yeah.
And like, I remember, and we've talked about this before, but there's this, it's a movie, and it's about Martin Luther. I think it's called Luther.
Yeah.
And in it, like, there's a mom, and she doesn't have a husband in the movie, and she has a daughter who's mentally handicapped, and so she hides her in the woods. Like back then, like a lot, like the handicapped kids were looked at as like a bad thing, like the devils or something had like possessed them or something like that. Like they didn't understand that it was like a medical thing or whatever. Of course, I don't know how much different we are now. Now we kill them.
Right.
And we find out. So
right. It was like that guy was telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good job. He said, "Good job, Iceland."
Yeah.
Said they were wise to get rid of all the Down syndrome.
If you ever spend any time around a Down syndrome person, like, I don't know how you could say something like that. But anyway, so Luther comes into the area and like, well, first Luther's there, but there's this other guy that comes through and he's working for the Catholic Church and he's collecting money for them, and so he tells them first he like paints this gruesome picture of like hellfire and purgatory and stuff, and then that's where they quoted that line.
As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory springs.
Right, exactly. And so like all these people are thinking the only way to like get grandma out of purgatory, because she's screaming right now, is that you have to pay them. So the mother, she looks to her little girl and she's like, thinks about her daughter like burning in some purgatory horrible situation, and so she only has like one coin, and so she goes and she gives the coin and she gets this paper that tells her, that her daughter's good, it's an indulgence. Yeah,
Johann Tetzel.
Yeah, that's Tetzel. That's who it was. Anyway, so she brings the letter to Martin, and she's so happy because she's like, she figured out a way, and he knows that it's not true, that like first of all, that purgatory doesn't even exist, for one, and for two, like, paying money is not what makes you right with God. Like that's not the answer. And so you can tell that he feels, troubled, and then he gives her the coin back, which I thought was sweet, and he takes the paper and he tells her, I think, like, trust in nothing but the grace of God or something like that. But as human beings, you would rather trust in I did something, so I'm good, Right. It's harder to trust in the grace of God in some instances. So she doesn't look fully satisfied.
The message of Jesus doesn't really comport very well to religious power.
No.
Because it offers a golden ticket, one-time forgiveness that then you can't use to blackmail the person ever again.
Right.
I mean, most people, even, if you're agnostic...
It's a one-time use that's good for all time.
Right. But if you're agnostic, you say to yourself, I've heard a lot of people say, I'm just going to live as best as I can, and if there is a God, then he'll accept me on my own merits.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's Marcus Aurelius basically said the same thing. And what we believe is even simpler than that. It's like, don't even try to live your best life. Just rely completely on the grace of God.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell you that you're too bad to enter heaven, or that you have to do X or Y thing. Like, if you really get the message, you don't have to do anything else to earn your way. And if you really get that message, then it really deconstruct, which is why the Catholic Church went after Luther so horribly.
Oh yeah.
Was because it was like, look, if people start believing this stuff, that you can just believe that Jesus died for you and rose again, and that's it. And there go the indulgences. The little woman's not going to give us any money. There goes our power. You don't have power over people. Yeah. You know what's interesting is, like, introducing people to Christianity or something. We've been able to see a lot of people. There seems to be this impulse in humanity where, like, they want people to have power over them. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time saying forget it. Like, go to Jesus will help you. Like, these people were trying to give you all this power over them and have you, So I thought that was a strange phenomenon that I began to observe. But that was a good catch about the guy carrying the church on its back. See, that to me has a lot of crazy metaphorical meaning. I hope the video doesn't get blocked.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I'd like this to actually be the still photo with us and the thing for the thumbnail, but that's a really interesting concept of the dude, like, carrying the church on his back. Initially, I thought it was like, deformed wings or something like that. But
no, I immediately saw it was the church.
Yeah.
Then I got really emotional.
Well, so a couple of things. One, that could be the Pope, right?
No,
because
the Pope,
because to me, the Pope has to, as a guy that constantly gets thrust into leadership roles.
Yeah.
I understand, like, of course, nothing even, whatever, but carrying the weight of other people's expectation on you.
Is the church burning?
Well, of course, it's Behemoth. But like, I don't know if, I'm sure Lyrical didn't initially mean this, because I've got about 2 or 3 meanings for that one picture alone. But, like, can you imagine how run down you must be to be the Pope? Like, you're carrying the entire, 1.5 billion Catholics are on the planet? And you've got to carry all of that, all those people, and all those people are looking to you for encouragement and inspiration and all that. It's no wonder that the previous Pope didn't even finish his tenure. He retired. Yeah. He's like, I'm out. I think that office is extremely taxing and tiring.
You're probably right. I never thought of it before.
I think it's an exhausting, and I don't think it's an office that...
Because he always looks so relaxed.
Well, this guy does, because he's more liberal, but the previous Pope didn't look relaxed at all.
Okay, well, whenever I saw him, he always looked relaxed.
Who?
The Pope?
You're talking about JP2 or the one after JP2?
I don't know. I just know I would go to my grandfather's house, and the Pope would be on there, and he looked real calm.
Ratzinger never looked relaxed to me, man.
I didn't sit there and watch it. I never liked it.
Well, you have a Catholic background. Right. I don't have a Catholic background.
Right.
So I grew up Protestant my entire life. So, like.
Then again, maybe I was only seeing priests.
Leading that. Anytime you're a leader and people are looking at you for stuff, it's exhausting. So I can only.
It's true. I can see. Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Huge group of people.
Well, yeah,
and people make their. They make their trips over there to meet them.
Yeah, pilgrimages and all that. Yeah, like, that's no joke. That's a difficult world to live in, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for him.
I know you're in some sort of mood. What do you mean you don't feel bad for him?
I don't feel bad for him.
How come?
You shouldn't have that position anyway, to have that kind of authority over all those people, and then to make those stupid decisions that get made where the Bible doesn't get translated for people that need to learn it and understand it.
Well, you can't hold one pope responsible for all that stuff from the past.
Don't they all speak ex cathedra, like from the seat of Peter?
No, they don't always speak ex cathedra.
Okay, when they do.
Like that whole thing where the Bible had to stay in Latin, that wasn't ex cathedra. That was
Who said that? Whose idea was that?
That wasn't an ex cathedra.
So that didn't come from the Pope?
It did come from the Pope, but it wasn't ex cathedra.
Okay, well, whatever. Peas and potatoes. Like, they didn't translate it, and it came from the Pope. That's a really horrible decision. How can you be saying you're looking out for the people and make that decision?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what perspective you're looking at it. As
What do you
Protestants,
mean?
well, because as Protestants, we're going to say, well, he did that because he didn't want people to really realize that, was it Romans 5, to the one who works, then his wages are counted to him as his due. But to the one who does not work, but believes God, who justifies the ungodly, his faith is credited to him as righteousness. That one verse right there, where Paul is specifically telling you, you must not work to be saved. You must not work to be forgiven. You just have to believe God, and he will credit you as righteous. Yeah. It says he justifies the ungodly.
Yeah.
Doesn't even say he justifies repentant people.
Yeah.
Which is what most people would be comfortable with. Paul says he justifies the ungodly.
Yeah. So what are you saying? You're saying
that completely ruined Catholicism.
From a Christian perspective,
from a Protestant perspective, we would say you were doing that because you were trying to keep people.
But from their perspective, they're saying they don't want people getting confused on what it actually says.
Exactly, right? Because 1 Peter 3? No, 2 Peter 3, where it says, Paul's writings are difficult to understand, which the unstable misinterpret to their destruction. Peter says that. So it just depends on what perspective, what assumption you have. But either way, it's got to be a tough job to be the Pope. And so I look at the guy carrying the church as like the Pope, and he's run down. But I don't think Nergal would ever present the Pope as a sympathetic figure. The other perspective I had on this person, this worn down person who's carrying the church, is there's a verse in Matthew 23, where Jesus is going after the Pharisees and all the religious leaders, and he says, you put all these weights on people's back, but you won't lift a finger to help them. Mm-hmm. And so it's like this sex abuse stuff, and this song was written before all the stuff recently came out, I'm sure, but
it's been coming out for a while.
But right, it's been coming out for quite some time.
It was obviously out in the public by the time it's made.
Like, if you think about it, these kids who have been molested since they've been kids and have been told to keep their mouths shut because the church is depending on them to keep their image up. You could imagine like being this type of person, like you're carrying basically the weight of the church by having to basically suffer in silence.
Okay, I'll throw in with you on that one, but I don't feel bad for the Pope.
Well, yeah, I mean, So, well, this particular Pope, everybody loves him, but he was also part of it. JP2 was part of it, Ratzinger was part of it,
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that like at the bottom, it's, taking from the poor like that and making them think that they're good when that's not even what the scripture says. And then the other thing is the kids. I just can't get past that, especially after watching that documentary last night.
Yeah.
I think I'm even more on edge.
Yeah.
We're watching it. We're in the middle of watching a documentary on R. Kelly, and
he apologized with sorrow and shame. I know.
Why did he apologize with sorrow and shame when he's been saying he didn't do anything?
Well, no, he hasn't been saying that.
Pope Francis. Oh, I just said R. Kelly, and you said he apologized.
Pope Francis refused. So it's interesting because on August 20th. He apologized for his pre-sex abuse scandal with sorrow and shame. August 27th, Pope refuses to answer question on cover-up of child abuse. So it's like, I'm so sorry in sorrow and shame, but then he's not answering specific questions about the cover-ups. He was part of it. So is JP2. And JP2 is like the most legendary Pope probably of the last 100 years. I mean, they canonized that dude immediately when he died. Immediately. So all I'm saying is that guy kind of represents all the people that had to bear the weight of making sure the church looked a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could throw in with you on that. That's for sure.
What happens in, you know, it happens in Protestantism too, where it's like, you know, I mean, we've seen women are encouraged to shut up about being abused so that they can maintain the institution of marriage. So instead of that, you have to, you could put marriage on their back. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of things where anytime the institution tells you that you have to bear the weight of it, you've got to carry it because, you know, if you say anything, the church is going to look bad. But that's the thing about Nergal's videos is like half the time the videos are so rich that if you get past the, oh, he's trying to shock you and he's got all this imagery, to, hey, he's actually saying something.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Pictures. I feel like he's trying to say something, but he's not just like, let me just... Oh, I don't like that character on the cross, though. Ooh, that grossed me out. I don't like all those things.
With all the needles?
Yeah, that was gross to me.
You know what, though? I see it. A lot of people don't understand what the... At least the...
Okay, I don't want to be paused on that. It literally grosses me right out.
Well, crucifixion's supposed to... A lot of people don't...
No, it's not like that. It's like...
I know.
Holes. It's disgusting.
A lot of people don't understand though the Protestant understanding of what happened with Jesus on the cross. So they just think, oh, he got nailed to a tree and that's it.
Watch the Passion. That'll give you a better idea.
Even the Passion doesn't.
It'll give you a better idea.
No, what I'm talking about penal substitution.
Oh.
So they.
Oh yeah, no.
You still don't get it. So from a biblical perspective, is that Jesus, in bearing our sins, also bore the wrath of God. Mm-hmm. So like the beating and his back being torn, terrible, horrible. Mm-hmm. But it was nothing compared to God putting the wrath. There's a pretty cool Shailin video. I'll actually try to find it, but there's a still picture of like this giant fireball and then just Jesus like, you know, in between it and absorbing, you know, the wrath of God, which was, you know, an invisible transaction. So when I saw that guy on the cross, and there's all these nails and stuff going into him, and he looks more grotesque than a regular crucified person, I was like, okay, this is closer to what actually happened, what the Bible is actually saying is happening.
Is that what you think he was trying to communicate?
I don't even think Nergal has any idea about penal substitution.
So what do you think? Okay, well, we'll talk about what you think he was trying to mean by that. I just think he was trying to like have a super blasphemous version of the crucifixion. But as is often happens, they always go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think they always end up saying more than they intend to.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is really blasphemous.
Well, like, if your little picture can be found, the one with the wrath of God coming down as a fireball, at the end, the guy on the cross gets burned. Right.
So, and of course, fire is like the number one metaphor for the wrath of God. So he's right.
It's so interesting too when you think about that, like, you know, we see the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament as Jesus. And so like he's passing out God's wrath all over the place, you know what I mean? Right. And then like it hits a point where he's like, I'm gonna take it now. Right. Wow.
That thing that he was doing right here?
The drummer or him?
Both of them. Remember when you were looking behind the scenes?
That's exactly what I thought of, yeah.
And you said they were doing some ritual? Is that what they were doing?
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, it might have even been that. It's been a little while, but
they're real spiritual dudes. Go ahead.
He's very artistic. I love his art.
Nergal?
Yeah.
The way he moves his body.
Yes, that's what I mean. When he would like strum the guitar and like what he would do with his arm after, it was very just dramatic and I liked it.
The guy's stage presence is I've never seen anything like it. I mean,
it's very good. Yeah,
it's not just raw, heavy. That he's got some power with him
and some personality.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's all good power, Mr. Nergal.
No,
but he's an absolutely gifted individual. God Almighty.
Now I don't understand the angel.
Well, the angel is like being restricted with ropes and such.
Yeah.
He had a really crazy line, and I was like,
whoa. Came in through
I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. So he said, where did it go? Because he said something really crazy. Here it is. No. Here it is.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand that part.
I've watched the birth of planets. I've witnessed the death of worlds. I've conducted the choir of stars. Okay, that's Satan. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. I've ridden the tail of the comet as I've transformed from God to ash, from dust to man.
I didn't realize we were talking about Satan.
That's
being cast
that's
out.
a crazy line. Because what he's combining the metaphors. Because, you know, contrary to Vatane, you know, they're like theistic Satanists.
Yeah.
Who believe that there's like an entity out there that actually is the devil.
Yep.
He doesn't believe that. Satan is sort of like archetypical of, you know, man and his rebellion and whatever, and you know, unceasing hunger and the, you know, not suppressing your urges and all the rest of it. But what he did was he basically said that Satan is Adam. Satan and Adam are the same thing.
Oh.
Because look, he said, from God to ash, he's transformed from God to ash. Yeah. And then what did God make Adam out of?
Yeah.
From dust to man. So he transformed from God to ash.
Why would he say
and
that?
then from
That's
dust
so
to
weird.
man. It makes
so who's talking to Adam in the garden?
Well, again, he's not looking at that stuff literally. What he's saying is that man is the ultimate. So that's why he says, I praise you, O vicious man, or something. I worship the O vicious man.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? Like, to him, he doesn't believe in any of this spiritual stuff. As far as, like, he doesn't think there's all this, you know, whatever.
Oh.
But he's using the archetypes that the Bible has, and he's, like, combining them together and saying, you know, Satan and Adam are the same thing, because they both did the same thing, which was they embraced their own indulgence in rebellion against God. Mm-hmm. So to him, it's the same idea. It's the same concept. Well, it's very interesting because, you know, in the Isaiah passage, I think it's Isaiah 14, you were in Eden, the garden of God, and every stone was your covering, yada, yada, yada. The majority report is that that's talking about Adam. The minority report is that it's talking about Satan. So my point is that there is a confluence between Satan and Adam.
Yeah.
Even among conservative theologians. So Heiser takes the Satan view. Sailhammer takes the Adam view. So Sailhammer believes that it's talking about Adam, and so does Beale. So does Beale. Heiser takes the minority view that's talking about Satan.
Oh, that's interesting.
So when he does that, that was brilliant. In my opinion, it was brilliant to you know, he transforms from God to ash.
I don't know if you've ever told me that theory before, but I didn't remember it.
Which one?
The Satan Adam thing.
That Isaiah 14 is talking about Adam and not Satan. Oh yeah, I've told you that multiple times.
Thank you for blasting in front of a whole
Eritis sicuit Dei. Thus sermonized the serpent of Eden, thus struck the breath of the earth, and thus flooded the blood of the soil, slither into the gaping void. I think it's that you shall become God or something like that.
Okay, yep.
Thus sermonized the serpent. It's interesting, he uses the term sermon and evangelize.
Yeah, I saw that.
In absentia Dei we evangelize, in absentia Christi we spread like swarming plagues. So in absence of God, in absentia Dei would be in absence of God, and in absentia Christi we spread like swarming plagues.
Oh.
And Ecclesia Satan, in the Church of Satan,
Yep.
which is, you know, the world basically. Because I think what he's saying is that God is absent and Christ is absent in the world, and so they're spreading their message, and Ecclesia Satan.
Wow.
Ecclesia Satanas.
Wow.
Thy might is right, which is again like this sort of like, you know, overcoming, conquering type of thing that is very, very pertinent to Behemoth and pertinent to Nergal, obviously, because he had to overcome so much.
Yep.
I see, there it is again. I worship the O vicious man. Now mark my words, ye mortal race. Feed my wrath with lion's gore. Feed my envy with the fat of lambs. As the wicked ways will flourish, behold the monuments of God's decay. Which is another interesting part because, you know, human beings are images of God or whatever, or will you be monuments of God?
Do you think that's what he meant?
Well, I don't know if that's what he meant. I think what he's talking about is turning the world, on its head into the opposite of everything that God wants it to be. And by that type of world would be the monument of God's decay, because God tells us to do one thing and we're going to go off and do the other thing.
Yep.
Lex Divinus, I stamp the dust, I despoil the holy books, I desecrate the angelic verses, like dead leaves wither they to ash, as I am leading the host of stars onwards embrace the sun. Is that Revelation 12, where the dragon swept a third of the stars to the earth and threw them to the ground?
Yeah.
How did you interpret that?
I didn't know. I didn't have an interpretation.
Well, my understanding of that, Revelation, most of the time it's...
Oh, you mean the Revelation thing?
Yeah.
We always
took a third of the stars of the earth and threw them to the ground.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant, how did I interpret that verse? No, we always said that was the, that was when Satan got cast out of heaven and he took a third of the angels with him.
Yeah.
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 I know that you don't think that.
No, I don't think that. The stars in Daniel stand for the righteous.
Yeah.
The righteous will shine like the stars in the kingdom of their Father. So, so if he throws a third of the stars to the earth, that means he kills a third of the righteous. That righteous people are going to suffer because of whatever he's doing. But Lex, like the Lex Talionis, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, is the law of. So Lex Divinus, divine, it would be God's law. I stamp the dust. I despoil the holy book. So basically saying he doesn't honor God's law. Basically, that's what he's saying. Well, which one?
I know, yeah.
Thou shalt not murder? Why the hell are we criticizing the Catholic Church if they're doing all this horrible stuff to kids and raping them and such? And people, those are God's laws too.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
can't do that, we'll kill you.
Right. No, you're right.
So it's like, people like to say stuff like that. We don't need God's law. Yeah? You don't want to live in a world where there's no law.
Right.
And then this whole indulge yourself and don't restrict your appetites. Yeah? I mean, how far do you really want to take that? Everybody's inclination should be fed on. Are you sure? You sure you want to go there, Mr. Nurgle? See, that's the thing, is that people like Nurgle who don't like seeing people be hurt or taken advantage of. No matter how tough he acts, he's such a deeply caring person. So it's he doesn't want to see people just live according to their inclinations.
Right.
So some dude runs up and says, hey man, my inclinations are toward kids. You think Nurgle will be like, sure man,
no.
Indulge yourself. Isn't that one of the things of Satanism, at least the Levian Satanism, that you don't harm children? Well, why? I thought you're supposed to indulge yourself. Hey. Or is it, we do realize that we have to we got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
People say, well, as long as you're not hurting someone, then fine. But just because somebody consents to something doesn't mean they're not going to be hurt by it.
Right.
There's a lot of things that people consent
to.
You're
completely right.
That are going to end up damaging them.
Especially because people consent for lots of different reasons.
Well, yeah. People say pornography is okay because girls are consenting. Really? Half those girls are getting threatened with murder by their pimp or whatever. The other half of them have been sexually abused, which set them on a crazy trajectory the whole time. So you can't just say because somebody says that they're okay with something that absolves you from moral from a moral ill,
Yeah.
But I do think part of me is okay, if you actually believed that God was absent and that Christ was absent, and then you had this whole institution that was dedicated to, ruling people by, mythology from their perspective. Wouldn't you basically be like this? Wouldn't you basically have a sort of Nurgalian attitude toward Christianity and all that? Or would you just be forget it, I don't even want to waste all this time criticizing Catholicism because I just want to have fun? See what I'm saying?
Wow, that's interesting. I think it depends on the day for me. You're saying if there really was no God, there was no Christ.
If I really believed like him, I would be like, forget it. But see, he it looks to me like he's got like a life mission. It's a very interesting concept to me that it seems like he uses very religious terminology. We evangelize. So it's like it's a very spiritual thing, and obviously, you saw him doing his little ritual or whatever it was before the show started.
I mean, for me, the problem that I would have would be like I would just want to like. I always bring up hippies, but that would be like my thing. Like I just want to be chill. Like I don't want to have all these stressors. Like I don't want everything to be whatever. Like let's just chill, Yeah. And that institution would make me angry because they're affecting people's chill.
Well, definitely in Poland they're affecting people's chill. For sure.
Yeah.
That's no question. That is no question.
Yeah, so.
Alright, what do you give the song?
Honest to goodness, I really like his stuff.
Yeah.
So I always want to give it, like, I always feel like the performance is a 10.
I hope the video doesn't get taken down, but yeah.
If it does, I'll probably snapshot clips so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you give it?
10.
This is 9. I still think God Equals Dog is probably the best track from this record. We've done
God Equals Dog was better.
Wolves of Siberia. We did God Equals Dog. We did Bartzabel. We did this one.
Okay, 9.8 because I liked God Equals Dog better.
Alright, give it a good solid 9. Good solid 9. Sorry guys, this went a little bit long, but when Behemoth comes, we have to talk about the video as well as the music, because Nergal never just does,
sometimes you watch a music video with something and you're like, wow.
What were you doing?
What does that
mean?
Like
that Chevelle one, the guy's in the car, and he's just driving, and then at the end the car blows up. I'm like, I'm sure it meant something somewhere, somehow.
You know how I like that in this moment one, The Fighter or something like that?
Yeah.
I watched the music video, I was like, are you serious? It's just the girl singing. Like,
you mean Kellandros
she
was
flicks
like,
her hair around.
You mean Kellandros was like, yo, he's like, nah fam, I can't do it.
I mean, I love the singing, but like I wanted some powerful, like I wanted to see her like something horny, like some fire coming up, she's walking through the flames. No, just
Beyonce.
Blood.
What do you call it? I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna. They were like in the woods and shit.
Yeah.
And she was in her little. She was in a camo booty shorts. She was in camo booty shorts, not regular booty shorts. Beyonce, you need Nergal to direct your next video. We need to make that happen. Good Lord, Beyonce. All right, Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.